Hello, everybody.
Hey, Mr. David.
How are you?
Good, good, good.
Excellent. Sorry about that. I was on a different computer there.
Yeah, no problem. Everybody's busy today. So I don't have a lot of news anyway. Am I even sharing my screen? Let me share my screen. I just got started like 10 minutes ago, starting to kind of build a data structure for the future Forge module, based on, well, it's not recorded yet, so I have the data from ESW on the old Forge module, and there's a lot of, I think, stuff that will be different now that we're in GitHub. There's going to be issues, and yeah, so I'm just getting started on that. Okay, EPT, nearly finished event 704, one item to verify, cool. Okay, well, let's make it a short one. Let me open the drive.
Hey, Daniel, I do have one thing.
Yeah, cool.
Whenever you get to it, just let me know. It's more of a kind of just open conversation question.
Cool. What's the
It's
short title?
related to documentation.
To documentation. So let's put. Hey, I'm missing a section here. There's this and Forge. Did we already talk about Forge?
Not in this context.
Perfect. So let's start from here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this March 28th, 2019 core modules meeting. I am here with David, Dexter, EPT is with us, and Michael Onizuka. So everybody was a little bit busy today. EPT is in listen-only mode. So that's a copy from the agenda from the last meeting. Automated builds, release notes. Andrew could not be with us today. Anybody has something on that, or?
I don't think there's any specific progress on this because he's focused on the Razor Pages implementation.
Cool. Yeah, he's been very busy with a lot of stuff. So yep. Talking about Andrew, I know he was doing some interviews with .NET Foundation candidates for the chairs. I don't know how many chairs they're opening. I'm not showing my face here.
They're going to have 7 board of directors, and
Yep.
so yeah, there's quite a few candidates out there, and Andrew got an opportunity to interview quite a few of them, so it was very nice.
Yeah, I was up until like 4 a.m. yesterday trying to review the candidates I don't know, but from people we know, Mitchell Sellers is a candidate if you want to go vote for him. Well, in order to vote, you need to be a .NET Foundation member. They showed the membership is $100 a year, That's if you can afford it. So if you subscribe, and actually, it's funny because I can afford it, and when I subscribed, I could not get my way to paying. So
Yeah.
I just had to skip the step. It wasn't working. So yeah, so it's basically to prevent like anybody and his cousin to register, and they use those funds to help the foundation and finance projects and stuff. But it's not a don't get blocked because of that. You can go vote for the people. Another person we know is Sean Walker, which was amongst the founders of DNN, a very knowledgeable person. There's a couple other names I've seen very often on Stack Overflow and stuff, and they all have profiles you can go visit. And the votes are like your number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 choices. So you can everybody there that you think would do a good job, you can vote for them in the order of your preference. So definitely encourage everybody to go encourage your friends there.
And also, one of the things about paying when it is working, you can actually set up monthly payments as well. So if you want to give $10 a month or $5 a month, you can do it that way instead of it being a one-time.
Yeah, and the one time you can put the amount you want. So if you want to give $50 or 25 or nothing, or well, if the payment works for you, you can do so. I'll probably revisit. So the vendors banners module, I have got no news from Francisco. Oh, there's another thing I wanted to mention, which is not here. I'm gonna put it in the new business too. It's the oh crap! It's the which module? It's gonna come back to me. Some module.
Yeah.
It's gonna come back. I have very bad memory. I have too much intelligence to have memory. um, so I didn't get any news, but I know he was working on making that responsive and improving that. So let's postpone that. Blog module. I'm just gonna take it out from the agenda because there's been many iteration of this agenda with no progress. That was my plan originally. We got very busy with 9.3, which took a lot of time. I thought I would be investing somewhere else. And right now I'm focusing on helping us have a better aggregated view of all the modules before I'm going to be touching the actual modules. I'm going to talk a little bit with this on the Forge project. DevOps, test plans, Selenium. I don't think you have anything new on that. We keep that from when Andrew's back.
Yep, nothing new there.
Cool. Okay, community homepage. Okay, I will take this out from here, or actually, I'm gonna change the title. I'm gonna take this and put it here. The project scope on the same subject has slightly changed. So basically, the original idea was to use the same thing we use for the modules, which is a Jekyll theme, and that pulls metadata from GitHub, and it's very useful for the modules. You get the issues, you get the links to report the bug, you get all kinds of cool stuff directly with GitHub. However, it's a technology I personally am a bit less familiar. I had a big hard time trying to filter and sort properly. And another project that was on the table from the awareness group from Will Stroll was revamping the old Forge module. And that kind of morphed into, instead of making a GitHub page to aggregate all our stuff, we could have a new Forge module that will solve a couple problems. First, that could be the homepage for the core modules and other community modules. Plus, GitHub has a very hard limit on the APIs, and that will allow us to have a real module that we could do caching and only poll so often and save that data in an actual database that we can serve more than 60 per hour. And it could also become an API for other services like NV Quick Pulse and other projects that need to have information about community modules. We could have a standard API, a single source of truth that's going to be maintained, and other things can consume that. It could be also for the DNN store to consume that information about open source modules and community modules. This is a better foundation for the future. So I started an RFC about this. If you have any ideas or comments or want to chime in on that, it's on the DNN community. I created a blank repository called DNN Forge, and there's currently an RFC issue about revamping the old Forge module. We have the data from the old Forge module. It's split across like 15 tables with a lot of very old stuff, and the original plan from Will was to rebuild that module. It's Visual Basic. It doesn't have any build scripts. It's not a package. It was loose code within the site. I think it's going to take more work to revamp it than to rebuild it new, and just go grab the data that's still relevant, because there's a lot of data that dates from 10, 12 years ago in there. Modules that probably are not maintained and are very old, would probably not even work on the recent version. So we can go clean up there and just take what's good. So that's the main goal of this RFC here. Feel free to chime in. The last question I had here, and maybe David, you can, I think you wanted to collaborate on that project, like on
Yeah, I would love to be
stuff.
involved in it. Be happy to help.
Okay. What technologies like MVC versus SPA and React, Angular, Vue, what you're comfortable with? If I was the only person working on this, I would go React, but I don't want this to block other people, so I'm ready to learn other stuff if needed.
Well, it'd be great if we went web component SPA,
Yes.
but I don't know if that's a little, premature because we'd have to. I don't know. Maybe that would help with the other projects. So,
Yes, we could use web component, well, UI web components, but then there would be some logic on top of that if we consume those web components in React. Is that the technology you're kind of familiar with too?
oh, I'm sorry, I missed the question on that.
If we build web components for the UI parts and we consume them into a React app for the more logic and calling the APIs and stuff, is that something you're comfortable, or is React something that would prevent you contributing?
No, I'll do whatever you want.
Okay, cool.
It would be fantastic if it was not framework dependent, though, in my opinion. So,
You mean pure JavaScript and web components?
yeah.
Okay.
I just think it lowers the barrier of entry for people, to be involved. But
Yeah.
we're not necessarily going for a lot of people to be involved, I guess, on this. It would be nice to at least have an example out there of how you could do something like that. But that being said, if we really need a framework, to develop it quickly enough and all that, I will go with whatever. I'm more of an Angular person or a Vue person, but I understand React enough to help, so it wouldn't prevent me from
Okay,
helping.
it wouldn't block you. Okay, but I definitely like web components. Another thing that would be nice, since the persona bar is a lot of React, and we kind of have that in the back of our head to go to web components for the UI parts of it, that could be a good example that we can then follow on the persona bar too.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So, um, new build of the old Forge module, and RFC is out at, no, need to copy. There we go. Now let me just go in the chat a little bit because our friend EPT is in listen only mode, but he's chatting here. Um, okay, so EPT's he picked up the documents module. He needed it for a small, simple site. He's going to be verifying the issues log there. The wiki as auto build implemented. Yes, we set up the wiki for CI, so it should build on pull requests for validation, and it should also build when we merge it. That was in a past meeting, but so I'm not going to write it in the agenda, but it's set up for CI.
And it's also set up for Grin, I believe, for the release notes. But he was still working on something he wanted. Andrew was working on something he wanted to finish on that to just kind of button everything up.
Cool. Okay. The other stuff was more discussions and stuff. Okay. So yeah, feel free definitely to comment there if you have any ideas, want to contribute, etc. Okay, so that covers this. Cool. So you had something about documentation.
I just had a thought. As the DNN Docs project has been progressing quite nicely, I was wondering if it makes sense, because we're going to have some, quite a bit of how-to stuff in there and that type of thing. I wonder if it would be beneficial to the old core modules, to have some kind of how-to stuff in the DNN Docs project related to those. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I would like to promote the core modules much more than they are now. People who use them are old guys that used to have them come with DNN, and most of the new people, they go with general purpose modules, which I have nothing against, but they're general purpose, like they're all the open content and too sexy and these stuff. Most people, they start with that in order to do their stuff. The core modules had a little bit of a different philosophy, which was each module was very simple and very targeted at specific task. And a lot of other platforms, they provide that already as, very common stuff like a blog and like a gallery and stuff like this. It's part of it comes with it, I would like one day to be back at that stage, but I doubt they will be reintegrated into the code base. But I would like to promote them as, you have this for free, well-maintained, open source, definitely. And
That's what I was thinking too. If there was a way to, talk about the various, we're in the context of core modules here, but it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to that. In the DNN Docs, basically any, open source community, DNN community project that's in there could be talked about in the context of Docs. And I was kind of thinking along the lines of what you're thinking, like it's really kind of promoting awareness of these and showing how to actually use them. To me, that's a little different than the documentation in the GitHub projects themselves.
yes,
That would be really detailed about how do you install, how do you configure, and things like that. That's all valid and shouldn't really be duplicated over there. But some simple, maybe demo type walkthrough of how to use it in a real world scenario or a case study or something like that might be really nice in the DNN Docs project.
That's where my mind was going. Kind of a walkthrough, starting from zero and building a mock-up website, which would have a blog, which would have forms for contacting people, and like, I walk through, and here you have a finished site, in that many hours, and there we go. Would definitely be nice.
Like, the DNN Docs project supports a lot in the content itself. So, it can have animated GIFs. It can have code snippets. It can have screenshots, of course, video references, stuff like that. There's a lot that really could be done. So I think we could do, if we come up with kind of a format that we would like to see, we can follow the same kind of format for all of the projects. And I think that would help people, especially people that don't even know these exist.
Yeah, I think maybe we could have a kind of a, I don't know, a mock-up of a site that would use the most common modules, and then have steps. Here's maybe we could use NV Quick Theme as showing how to change your theme, and then from there, here's how to build the homepage, and on the homepage we could have a slider. We could have common stuff that most homepages would have, and then a contact page where we could use form and list, or maybe we could use form and list elsewhere that's more appropriate, and on the contact page we could use the feedback form and stuff like this, and try to think pages that would use most of the popular modules. Yeah, that would definitely be
That'd be
nice.
great. I know it's a little bit of work, but I think if we give it some thought up front, it would really flow really nicely and help people to know that this stuff is out there.
Yeah, and another thing I'd like to do, and right now I don't have the setup for high availability, but I have some virtual machines that I'd like to have a demo site for the core modules that would use all of them in a fake company website,
Yeah, I think that's a
Acme
great
thing.
idea.
And that would help. Having it in a virtual machine would be nice for testing upgrades and all that, but that site could maybe not be live 24/7, because of those testing things. Well, actually, I could duplicate the virtual machine.
I mean, if nothing else, it could be it could just be used to create the screenshots and things like that, or show those walkthroughs. That'd be great. It's a
Yeah,
good idea.
yeah, definitely good idea. Um,
And I think EPT in the chat was saying that the core modules should and could be samples really of how things can and can be done out there. So
yeah, and we still have work to do because some of them are, really old and may not be the best practices today. But the most popular ones, the most maintained ones, we definitely should do something. Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool. Okay, the module I was thinking about. Okay, now I have to remember because we got to that point.
Hey, it's some module. We know that.
Okay, let me just open my emails on the side here. Oh, hold on. I know where I'm gonna get it. I can close this, and it's gonna be. It was Michael Torbic. Not sure how you
Oh,
pronounce his
Tobish,
name.
Michael Tobish. Yeah.
Yeah, he was working on the survey module. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, he's in Austria, Vienna. I miss Vienna. Tobisch, I believe.
There's no R. It's, oops. There we go. Okay. So basically, he forked. Well, he didn't fork because he took it from. It's not even on GitHub yet. It's on Codeplex. Took the original code from Codeplex and finished the rebuild on his GitHub repo. So I'm going to contact him to ask him to submit that as a pull request to the community repository so we can review there. I'm going to do it like right now. Michael.
Fantastic. That's great. I'm sure he would be good with that. He, he's the other maintainer on the iframe module as well, and in the community. So he'd probably be happy to put that in the DNA community org.
Cool. There we go. So I asked him to submit that as a PR. I did not download it. I did not try it. If you see that, it would be good to take the original one from Codeplex, put some data in, and make sure it can upgrade properly. That would be something that would be nice, that the upgrade doesn't fail. And other than that, run a couple tests, and we have one more module up to date. He put the documentation on readme.io. I guess he didn't know about what we did for documentation, but that's something we can look into as a separate PR since it's not part of the of his code, and maybe we can copy paste. I'm guessing it also uses Markdown or HTML. I don't think that's something very special. So that will be on survey. So that PR will be huge because there was no code in the repository. So it's going to be adding all the code. So it's going to be hard to review by GitHub, but if you download the build and everything, and it would be nice also to make sure we can fix it after the fact if everything works, but to make sure that it builds on different environments, and then we can set it up for CI and stuff.
Be nice to get a good, like if everything tests out okay, make sure there's a good release out there as well.
Yeah. And if there's minor stuff, we can also merge this, add issues, don't put a release out, and do smaller PRs for fixing the stuff that's there, depending on how responsive is going to be. And I told him there was a meeting today, but he didn't join. So yeah, okay, that's pretty much it.
That's
anything else? Let's take a look back at the chat in case. That's not it.
No, nothing more on the chat.
I don't know. The chat window disappeared. Cool.
There's nothing else in there.
Awesome. Anything else you guys want to chat about? It's good. So thanks for joining, even though everybody's very busy. And the next meeting will be on April 11th. So have a good 2 weeks and see you then.
Thanks, Daniel.
No problem. Bye-bye.